why do you exist is going to give you the first little piece to establishing that trajectory of developing your personal brand.
There's no point in going onto a podcast and going, well, I'm wonderful and I made $1 million and oh my God, my don't stink. You've got to be on a podcast to benefit the listener.
There's the same story over and over again, the same storyline in all movies out there. And we're live here from pretty Big Bear, lovely little scenery here by the lake.
It's bloody cold.
It is.
That's what it is.
It is
cold. Bloody, technically, you look on the temperature and it just goes bloody cold. So I don't think I'm built for it.
Yeah, it is super cold, but that's because we're LA wussies.
I think it's happened. It has happened. You know, if we get really cold in LA, it means we've got to put a hoodie on, and that's basically it. So I think we've got soft in our old age. But There you go. But we're here for you. We actually decided we were going to bear this for you. So here we are today with our latest clarity.
Yep. And also for those of you watching right now, if you could just put in the comment and confirm that you can hear us properly. We're trying this virtual setup. So if you can hear us, give us just like an okay or something in the comments, just so that we know that you can hear us well. And we'll just continue with it. Sweet. Thanks, guys. All right, perfect. So today what we're here for is your guide to personal branding in 2023. And there's lots of different little tactics and lots of new marketing strategies out in the world that you can do, but we want to keep it simple and we want to show the importance of the right sequence in which you address the stages of developing your personal brand. So what we've got is a little 5 stages for how you go about developing your personal brand and what to pay attention to first before getting too far ahead of yourself, because we like doing that. The shiny new things, we like, they draw our attention in and we latch onto them really quickly.
I think one of the things you've got to also focus on quickly is branding. We've been through branding before. You know, look at any of the old videos. You've seen all of this. What's a brand? What's it stand for? How important it is. But the timeline has changed. A brand has never not been a critical part of a business, but I'm going to go out and say that it's more critical today because of attention deficit. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the 2000s, you went, hey, I'm having Dunlop tires because, hey, Dunlop, I'm having Apple products, I'm having this. But now we look for value. Now we'll see something, we'll go, well, yeah, that's that. But there's this products over here. We're searching a lot more today. So the complete addiction and adoption to a brand is harder today. It's harder. Therefore, you've got to spend more time to make sure you're the brand that pops up when someone else is looking for a product, service, or anything.
Yeah, definitely. So let's just jump into the first staging then, being asking yourself, why do you exist? What do you do? What's your expertise? And then who can you impact the most? Because the issue and the common mistake is that we are very capable of a lot of things. And so we kind of broaden our messaging to try and cater to everyone. But in doing so, we lose the clarity and we lose the strength necessary to build that brand in a very noisy, competitive environment. So asking yourself those 2 very basic questions from the beginning of what is my expertise, my superpower, and then who can I benefit the most with that? And then pay attention to those 2 things. What's your expertise and who can it impact the most? Because that's where you're going to stand out the most. When you can give someone the highest amount of value, they're now going to rave about you as well. And it's going to, beyond just your own content and your own network, it's going to continue to branch out and allow you to grow in other opportunities, affiliate opportunities, stuff like that, referrals, all of those kind of places. But just getting that basic of what you do and who it impacts the most is going to give you the first little piece to establishing that trajectory of developing your personal brand.
You got to lose the supermarket mentality. There was a supermarket mentality that was very, very strong in the late 80s to the mid 2000s and even up until 2015. We saw supermarkets being department stores. We saw it being grocery stores where these were places where there was multiple products in them. You've seen some of the biggest department stores, Barney's, and some of these big grocery stores gone bankrupt. These were platforms to sell other people's products. And the only thing that they could do was either go, well, this is exclusive if you grab it here, or, and the worst place to market and argue, it's cheaper here. You start pricing and start arguing over price, it's a race to the bottom. But now the supermarket is the internet. So you've now got to focus. You've got to stop being the department store that goes, hey, I've got 30 different products. I've got one. I've got maybe three. But they specialist and they interlock to make you better at one to two things. So start niching it down. There's the classic statement, the riches are in the niches. They absolutely are. You've got to be the go-to person when someone needs a car repaired, your toilet fixed, your house renovated, something painted, a photographer for a wedding. You've got to be the person to go to. So get focused on your true unicorn and stand out with that. Forget the supermarket mentality.
Yeah, definitely. And then once you've got that niche described and knowing exactly what you do and that ideal client that you can help the most, next you move into actually analyzing the landscape in which you're competing within and knowing some of your competition to be able to understand what other options are out there and what sets you apart. How do you start defining how you show up in that marketplace to be the obvious choice for your client and understand how you connect with them? And you and I were even talking about that just this morning. And you were saying the importance of just searching yourself.
I find it hysterical. You'll spend hours looking at your competitors. You'll never look at yourself, and there is actually a video that I popped up today from a speaking gig that I did. God, I want to say where it was. Oh, San Diego with Robin Robbins. And I actually spoke about it. And I said jokingly, who here Googles themselves? And less than 10% of the room sheepishly go like that. And then everyone looks at them and go, oh, cocky, arrogant, and stuff like that. If you're not looking at yourself, you can be sure as shit that your prospects and your competitors are. Don't you want to know what they see? So before you start looking at your competitors, look at yourself. And when I say Google, Yahoo, Firefox, DuckDuckGo, Bing, try every kind of browser, search engine you can to see how you populate. You know full well that if you search yourself up on Google, a lot of the time all the YouTube's going to show up. Why? Because Google owns YouTube. So search how you are on all the other platforms as well. But focus on yourself and how you appear, and then focus how your competitors appear. And quite simply ask yourself the question, does my unicorn stand out in my presence?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, that's the benefit of looking at yourself online. And it helps with also questioning whether you're showing up the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And that is like, you can kind of easily look at things and understand if you're showing up the way you want to or not. And as you do that, you start getting an idea as to how you do want to show up. And you can ask friends and family and tell them to search you, look at your socials, look at the Google results, whatever pops up, and ask them, is that me? Is that the person you know? And then that's going to start giving you insight as to how you define yourself. Because our buddy Ryan Dice, he did a presentation recently that we absolutely loved. And he was sharing this tool that a lot of screenwriters use called the character diamond. And I definitely recommend that you go and look up the character diamond. And one of the first results is going to be Ryan's article going over it. But it's basically a 4-corner diagram for how you define yourself and your own character, your primary traits, the counter trait, your little quirks.
Then the flaws.
Yeah. And those are the relatable pieces to us. And they use it for all the development of their characters, because he was saying that there's the same story over and over again, the same storyline in all movies out there. There's barely any more different storylines, but we resonate with it because of a particular character. And that drill is actually super effective for ourselves when developing our personal brand, because if we can look at those corners of our character and understand us, then we can actually define that and put to action those character traits into our website and our content, the graphics, and even have it defined to pass into our team, who then we can offload some of that stuff, that work to, and they know the character that they need to define online and how we've defined it. So I would definitely recommend going and checking out that article.
It is super smart, and it's good for you to understand the character you are, but it's good for you to understand the character that you're demonstrating to the rest of the planet. Mm-hmm. And again, if you can make sure both of those are the same, you've got that continuity. And we've spoken about the big C on all other stuff, so no need to go on to that one. What's the next thing we really need to attack?
So from there, you've now defined your superpower and your ideal client. And now you've defined some of those personality traits that's going to help make you show up unique online or anywhere you go.
And relatable.
Yeah, and relatable. Have some kind of personal connection to that ideal client of yours. So from there, we've got direction. Now we start building that out. And we talk about the first thing you need to build is a CHOC. CHOC, central hub of communication or central hub of conversation. And this is your website. But the importance of it is that when someone hears about you or they've been told about you, they see you speaking on stage, they're going to Google you. And you want to make sure that your website captures that first search result and is the place for people to land and the place for you to direct people so that you get to show them you the way that you want to be seen and lay out all of the assets like your podcasts, your social, all of the stuff that they can now take in. Yeah, exactly.
You're in control of it. Easy test for you. Here's a little test for you now. Grab your phone, because let's be serious, 90% of searches are done on this little thing here. Grab your phone and Google yourself. And if the first thing that pops up is a shared platform, a LinkedIn, a Facebook, a Twitter, whatever, if it's somebody else's platform, you're not in control of your narrative. All right, that's the first test. So that's going to tell you if you're winning or not.
Yeah. And then the beauty of also having that chalk is that when people land on it, it's an asset that you own. And those social platforms are places where you're just simply borrowing attention. When it's a website, though, you have control of whatever you want to say on there, whatever you want to put on there without the risk of it being shut down.
Yeah.
And also you have the ability to capture your audience and actually own it. So you can have an email list where you have a pop-up where you give something in exchange to bring someone into your audience. And now you've got an email list and data that you actually own and can communicate to without any restrictions from these social platforms. And then what other kind of retargeting. Being able to then retarget someone once they've hit your site and you've pixeled them. Now you can show up in all of their social feeds and anything and start developing this full personal brand ecosystem where you're constantly showing up and showing up as the authority within the space because it's just constantly over and over and over again.
Yeah, there's two things I want to point out. First thing is, a lot of people, when you talk about the retargeting, people are going, oh, pixelation's dead. Pixelation in its form, possibly, but retargeting, no. You just have to work it differently. So it hasn't gone away. You just have to put a little bit more intention into it actually happening. And when we say CHOC, we keep saying website. The CHOC could be a blog page. It could be a podcast page. It could be a page digitally that you have control over. Any website that is exposing you and you're in control of, that's your CHOC.
Yeah, yeah. But it's that first piece because now everything after this stage, that's where you're going to be directing people to.
Yeah.
If you're on a podcast, you're directing them to your website. If you're speaking on stage, you're directing them to your website. It's an easy place to forward all your traffic to, and everyone's getting the same experience. So there's no confusion of someone being directed to some other offer through Instagram than they are through LinkedIn. If you're directing everyone to the website, everyone's getting the same experience, the same journey, the same message. And so there you continue to build on that consistency and clarity of your brand. But once you've built this foundation, this asset of yours, this chalk where you can direct people, now you need to start building up those assets and those avenues to capture some of that attention to direct to that hub. And that's through a lot of the main media outlets right now are social media channels and then podcasting. Those are two content heavy
channels. Can I just ask, how much does either one of those things cost you?
Right.
It really makes me laugh when people come over to us and they're working on that whole profile, their image, their chalk, and then they go, well, I've got a 50 grand budget on Facebook ads, or I've got a 20 grand budget on YouTube ads. Well, before you spend money, spend time. Why don't you focus on utilizing all of those profiles and platforms out there that cost you nothing? Podcasts get you 30, 40, 2 hours of you talking about your history, your story, your message, your impact. There is no platform in the planet that does that. The Hollywood movies don't give that one person the entire time. Yeah, I've been on podcasts that have gone for like 2 or 3 hours. It's just been me and a dude, we've just been chatting away. So focus on the stuff that doesn't cost you money, but does get the impact out there. We're not Kevin Costner. It's not a case of, hey, build it and they will come. It's not a field of dreams moment. You've built it, now work it. Mm-hmm. You've got to amplify it. You've got to push it out there and push it out on platforms that don't actually cost you any money.
Yeah. There are tools that allow you to put your voice and your message and expertise out there to attract people when they come across it. And so that's one of the things that, well, social media too, but podcasting, what's All right.
Are we back?
I think we're back. We had our Wi-Fi just went out.
Technical difficulties, so we do apologize about that. But we're gonna speed it up and finish it off because, as we've said quite openly, you've got to be in control of your narrative, and you've got to be in control of it more today. Because let's be honest, if you're not in control of it, we're going to be. Other people are going to jump into it, grab your story. And I've seen this because I know a lot of people in marketing that their unicorn is very similar to somebody else, but they're better at marketing it. So what do? They take over your SEO traffic. They take over your YouTube ads. They take over everything because they grab the control because you've ignored it. Don't ignore your message. So you've got your chalk, you've got your unicorn, you've Googled yourself. Do it often, do it frequent. Time yourself on doing it. But now what you've got to do is you've got to come down to the amplification. You've built your story, you own your narrative, now you amplify it. Let's run through quick fives before we finish. What's the best way for them to amplify?
So amplifying is you've got the content in place through your podcast, through your social, whatever. So your content is out there. One of the easiest ways is just through boosting that content.
Yeah.
Organic is very difficult. So if you can just put a little bit of money, $5, $10 behind each of your posts and just push it out to try and actively get in front of your perfect clients, then that is one of the easiest ways where you don't have to be tech savvy or anything. You just simply push the boost button on your phone on the post itself. Just say how much money, how long you want to run it for, and to who. And there you go. You've done some marketing to actively put your content out in front of people.
And spend a coffee. I know it sounds funny, but spend a coffee. Dan Fleischman used to say, spend a coffee, $5. Get a post in you're doing, put $5 behind it, play with a little boosting settings on your Instagram and set it to women 35 to 45 that like knitting and skiing. Just try, niche it down and spend $5 and see what that does to your following up. And when it works, here's the beautiful thing. When it works, put another $5 behind it. If stuff works and helps people, then it should be evergreen. So keep doing it. The little boosting button, and all marketers, every marketer out there in the planet going, boostings for amateurs. They're always going to tell you that. Anything that helps you, helps you. So spend a coffee, shove $5 behind it, play with it. And if you've got any questions, as usual, shove them in here and we'll try and help you. So boosting is a great one on social platforms. Podcast guests.
Yeah.
Getting on someone's podcast. For one, you've got to have a story, you've got to have a journey, and you've got to have a point. There's no point in going onto a podcast and going, well, I'm wonderful and I made $1 million and oh my God, my don't stink. You've got to be on a podcast to benefit the listener. Hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. I've listened to quite a few episodes and I believe my story can help your audience. Would it be worth having a discovery call? In the early stages when you're not doing a lot of podcasts and there's not a lot of proof out there, you got to work it. But once you get into this vein, a friend of mine once said to me, the problem is podcasts are like people. Everyone's got an ass. Everyone's got a podcast. Now, a lot of them aren't very good. And I think there was a gentleman, Ed Parko, one of our speakeasy members. I think he said it was the 11-20 rule. The most podcasts went away between the 11th episode and the 20th. Something like that. Ed can actually qualify that. But podcasts come and go fast. And everyone's out there going, I want to be on Joe Rogan. Sure as shit you do. But if you're not good enough, you've got to work your way through by doing other people's podcasts. But they are free. They do get into other people's sandpits. And they are worth refining your message on. So use podcasts to get that. If you've done podcasts well and it tallies in nicely, podcasts have probably been one of the single things that's helped me get on stages.
Yeah.
Because when you're actually speaking to someone about speaking on that stage, they go, well, have you done many stages? Well, yes, I have. But until that moment, they want to see how you come across. And most people like this, we video podcasts so they can see how you interact to questions, how you work off the cuff, how you control the narrative, the story, the impact. They can see that through podcasts. So if you want to be on stages, don't ignore the podcasts. I know a lot of people that do a lot of stage work and they're like, I don't want to do podcasts. They don't get as many gigs as me. Mm-hmm. Focus on podcasts. They will go hand in hand and help your stage. What else should we be looking at? Just to wrap them up.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the foundation to not overcomplicate and give you too much is going and defining what your expertise is and who it can impact the most. Then once you've got that little nugget ready, you move on to now looking at the lay of the land, seeing who the competition is and seeing how you can actually differentiate yourself and defining your personality so that you show up online as you intend to be able to truly connect with and communicate with your ideal client. Then from there, establishing your chalk so that you have this foundation, this asset that you own where you can direct people to it from social, from podcasts, from stages, and they go there to this hub of yours where you can then capture an email, pixel for retargeting. There's many things you can do. You can tailor it however you want. But then having this content strategy in place so that you do show up on social media platforms and podcasts, these places that people expect to see you now because they're major outlets. So if you're not showing up there, it's kind of a ding against you because somebody else is. So you need to show up on these platforms so that you are getting your message out there at a bare minimum. And then from there, it's amplifying it. So the next step is you've got this foundation, this message, this content for people to interact with and engage with you. Now you need to reach more people and different audiences by getting on stage, by getting on other people's podcasts and expanding this little message of yours that you've already established. And now you're just amplifying it into other avenues and other audiences.
And if all of that sounds like work, it's because it is. If your work's important to you, then you need to pay attention to it. The good thing is that once you've actually gone through those fundamentals, they are your cornerstones, they are your foundations, they are your blocks. And all you've then got to do is keep the momentum going. It's not as hard once you've built the basics. But if you don't focus on those basics and you just focus on the other stuff, it's a house of cards. So if it's important to you, pay attention to it, get the basics done, get the foundations done, and then just keep that momentum going.
Yep.
I think absolutely.
That's it. Yeah. If you want more tactical, specific things, we've got a bunch of these episodes thrown onto our YouTube channel where we go into depth on particular topics. But this is important to know the sequence of when you pay attention to what for building out that personal brand. You can pull the tactics into it, and we've got those videos, but we want to go over the foundation of how you now start addressing each of those stages to build your brand.
All right, for now, go and do it. Take what we've given you and try it. Google yourself, see if you come up, all of those things. Do it for your benefit. You're not paying us, we're helping you. And we're here and we're nice and warm now, I'm glad to say, but we're going to be going home soon back to sunny LA. Look after yourselves, folks, and stand out by first standing up. Bye for now.
Take care.